What's up, everyone? It is December. Happy holidays. This is not going to be a holiday movie, though, however. And it is Three Corners of Horror live here on Horror Fiend TV. We have a new guest. And with this movie, yeah, y'all should pray for us. Enjoy the show.
It's truly frightening.
Because you were home.
Oh man, I got this. Take one for me too, man. Yeah.
What's up, everyone? Joe the Psychologist here on Horror Fiend TV. And as you can see, we are down one. Rick, my beer brother, see you next week for Salem's Lot. That is going to be our next live stream. And tonight we have a new guest. Welcome, Linz. Linz, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Like, fingers crossed for us, because again, we're doing this live now. So even the new guests are going to be like thrown in with us. My brother, JR, the villain, how are you doing tonight?
And we get to talk about A24. And the big question is, do I actually like this one at all? Because I really am a very, very harsh critic of A24. So let's see if this one has a different prophecy.
Well, I mean, as with A24, it's mostly slow burns. So they're actually down your lane. So this actually, I'm like, JR's going to really love this. Like, we saw it in one of those theaters with the recliner, and I'm so used to the one by my house that doesn't have those that at one point I started falling asleep and it got loud and it scared the crap out of me. Woke me up at that point. But so tonight, guys, for this live review, we're going to be discussing the 2024 movie Heretic, and it stars Hugh Grant as Mr. Reed. I messed up and I did not have my notes, so I'm going to have to look at my phone real quick on this one. Oh, no. So the directors and writers are Scott Beck and Bryan Woods. The movie also stars Sophie Thatcher as Sister Barnes and Chloe East as Sister Paxton. Also, did you guys notice Topher Grace in the movie?
Yes.
You did? Yeah, I didn't know until they showed the name, but he plays Elder Kennedy. So this, as JR said, it's a new A24. So obviously it's a psychological thriller horror. And what is the movie about? Well, you have these two missionaries from the LDS, and it's all sweet and wholesome in the beginning, and you can tell that they're actually acting like normal teenagers. So when they were having their conversation, it kind of fit into the tropes of these are maybe not your normal sisters. So when they show up to I'm going to say Mr. Deeds, to Mr. Reed's house, well, that's when things started getting interesting for them. So I sometimes go into movies. I knew that it had to do with missionaries. That's about it. I didn't see a trailer. So when I was watching the movie, I was like, okay, it's probably going to go like this. And then the movie didn't go kind of the way that I thought it was going to go. Still, it was interesting. But I thought that I liked that what I initially thought the movie was going to be about, it turned out not to be about. And it actually made the movie more interesting because I was now paying attention. So I'm going to go to you, Linz, first. Like, your initial thoughts, as you were watching the movie, did your initial thoughts then change? Like, what was your initial reaction to the movie?
So honestly, I loved this one, but I tend to love A24 movies. They obviously, as you guys said, they tend to be more psychological thrillers, a little bit artsy. I like that this one was simple, and what I mean by that is, for the most part, we just have three characters, so we were able to kind of get to know them and understand their thought processes pretty well. And then really just one setting for the most part, which is Mr. Reed's house, but it was still intriguing enough. There's lots of long, dark hallways, twists and turns, secret switches behind the light switch to, change the front door or whatever. This movie really relies on the dialogue, which I love. Like you guys were saying, the slow burn approach is something I really like if you can do it right, and I feel like they did it really well here. I was really impressed with the script, mainly because the first half of the movie, maybe even more than the first half, is really just them talking, and I was like super engaged the whole time. I felt like every word had some sort of meaning, so it was really good in my opinion. And not to mention, obviously, the cast is great. Hugh Grant is awesome. I love him as a villain. I think the last Hugh Grant movie I watched was gosh, I think it's a year ago in December, Wonka. I went to see that with my family, and he's like the Oompa Loompa in that one. So a vastly different character in this movie. But I like when actors play a character that's a bit atypical than what they typically do. I mean, it shows that they're a good actor, right? And I also thought that the Mormon missionaries did a great job too, Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East. So I feel like those aspects is what I was expecting. There's like good bones of the movie, a great script, a great cast, and then pretty good sense of like the simplicity in it. I thought was really good. So I was impressed with it. I really liked it, and it was kind of my expectations, but not at the same time. I did watch the trailer, and I felt like the trailer was a tad bit misleading, to be honest. It made me kind of think that it was going to be like putting the girls through all these tests through like tons of different rooms and different trials and tribulations based on like specific passages from their Bible or whatever. It was mainly just in one kind of room. So I was surprised by that, but otherwise, great experience. I really liked it.
All right. What about you, JR?
See, this reminded me. There was a movie that I saw earlier this year, and it's gonna bother me because I can't remember off the top of my head.
Who was in
But
it?
it was the Australian film that me and Lexi did for What's Your Story, and the film basically had two characters stuck in a house during a storm, and the whole dialogue basically drove to the film where you were wondering who you trust.
Lavender?
No, it wasn't Lavender. It was
Okay.
was Australian one. Oh my god, you
Go
won't
ahead,
hear
keep
me or
talking. Go
something.
ahead. Go-
Yeah, you won't hear me, something like that. But what I like about this one is the fact that I think it's the topic it chose to be the premise of the film, which is always a controversial topic. And here you have two girls who basically are looking to convert, or how they're saying baptize somebody.
Baptize.
So the fact that you have that aspect of it, and then you have the counter aspect of it, that they didn't really realize the house they went into was a guy who studies religion in depth to the point where there's a cat and mouse game now. You tell me this, I'm gonna tell you this. So it was it was a test the whole time. I know you mentioning that, Liz, because it was his intent to test their faith. We'll talk a little bit more about exactly how, because it was pretty crazy. But I Hugh Grant, you're so used to seeing him in comedies, and I love when you have somebody that you're used to seeing in a certain genre step away from that genre, come into horror, and his character was amazing because he had those moments where he would talk and pause and just look at them. You're wondering, like, oh man, what the fuck is going through his mind? Because he's just staring at them, and you see, the uncomfortable moments. I mean, let's be honest. The minute he said, "My wife makes blueberry pie," we're like, all right, we're expecting the wife to eventually show up, and eventually there was no wife. But I like things like that, and yeah, the two girls were amazing too, and I agree. I love the fact that it's in a tight setting, and then the setup to the setting. This is the last house they're going to. All of a sudden it's raining. All of a sudden it turns into snow. All of a sudden it turns into a big prophecy like Armageddon, where you got the clouds coming in, and they're stuck in this old-fashioned house. But yeah, it was an interesting A24 film. It is like most of theirs are. There are like slow burns and stuff, but I think the fact that this one took a sensitive topic and turned it into a film where, whether you're religious or not, you're sitting there engaged with, all right, exactly how more in depth is he going to go to test these girls' religion?
Well, it's funny because y'all just I had like a bonus question I was going to ask you guys, which was, what did you guys think of Hugh Grant's performance? And you both started talking about it. So I'll go ahead and say my part now. Yeah, I really, the one thing I had, while scrolling through Google News, was people saying about his portrayal. and his character. I didn't read, but just the click bait that they, tagline, it was his performance. And, hello, it's the holiday season, Love Actually. It's one of the movies that's watched during the holidays. And then you're going to see him do this performance. And he, I thought he nailed the character. I couldn't, I thought they were in Colorado. Am I wrong? Did anybody notice?
I didn't really know so they're at, to be honest.
I don't think it was Colorado. I'm from Colorado, so I feel like I would have noted that, but maybe it was.
Because I was trying to, because I knew his, like, I couldn't get his accent. Like, I couldn't tell if he was still a British, or are they in an Irish country? But no, they're not, because the girls are speaking with no accent. So that was the only thing that after a while was throwing me off a little bit about Mr. Reed. And it's kind of a, I want to talk about is Mr. Reed. Like, as you're watching the progression of the movie, and you're basically seeing what Mr. Reed had been laying out, and ultimately what his plan was. So for an A24 villain, what'd you guys think of Mr. Reed? Linz, since you're our guest, I'm going to you first.
I thought he was incredible, honestly. Like I said, I just love when the characters play something that they don't typically play. I think he did play in a film or a TV show recently that was also a villain. I know a lot of people are saying he's in his villain era now. Um, but I thought he did a great job, really compelling. I love the character. I love how he was charming yet like really scary. But even when he got more scary, he was still charming. Like I would have trusted him. So I thought that he did a really good job all around, very compelling.
I kind of, it's funny because I sat there, and as he's talking about, the religion, especially, I took a course when I got my degree, and it was mythologies. I thought it was going to be about like the Roman and Greek gods, and it turned out to be about religion. And literally this whole entire course I took upon this big screen, and how it broke down religion, and kind of like the way that he sat there and basically showed them how the monopoly is probably one of the best, and analogy,
Yeah.
damn it, all right, that I've seen done to describe like religion. Because as I'm watching it, I'm like, there's stuff that I learned in this course that ties to stories in the Bible, and I'm like, well, all right, so yeah, it's exactly what I've kind of been thinking, and I'm Catholic, so guys, there's going to be no religion bashing here, I promise. But I'm Catholic, and listening to how he breaks them all down, and basically for them breaks them down on trying to break down their own beliefs in religion. So, like, JR, I'm going to go to you next. What do you think of Mr. Reed and the way he manipulated these girls?
It was funny because I'm sure we were all thinking it at a certain point was when they went to the room that looked like a temple. The first thing probably went in everybody's mind, all right, this guy's a devil worshiper. He's basically into the cult. And the fact that even something as simple as that, as an environment to even question, their beliefs too. Just by, I mean, when you've seen the two candles, when you've seen the altar, when you've seen I mean, the time that they kept showing, like she kept looking back to the curtain. I mean, the whole time you're thinking there was going to be some kind of like, something with the devil in there. And the fact that when the current came down, it was everything about all the religions that were 5,000 years before, basically, Christianity. And I always love these conversations, not to get anybody riled up. I'm not going to bash religion, but it's always an interesting topic to see the different views and perspectives that people have. But the way he did it, I think, was so perfect because he was very detail oriented and how am I going to break down. So all the facts he gave, the way he planned it out was so perfect. You know, the little things he would do, and the fact that he tested them from the beginning when he says, "Oh, what do you smell?" And blueberry, and then she realized the candle had blueberry. It was a blueberry scented candle. So all these little things that he was doing, and the fact that one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they're in the temple and they're dining it out. And at this point, you know, I'm sorry, man. I'm stuck in the house. I'm going through a window because obviously he's not gonna let you go anywhere. But when he wrote on the doors, belief and disbelief, and the fact that she opened the door first, and then we didn't know what was in that door. Because to be honest, when she opened the door, I thought the wife was gonna be there, dead or something, like a corpse. So it's like I like the way, even though he was playing mind games with them, he was playing mind games with the audience as well, which is an interesting thing in this film because I was going along with it and questioning everything he was doing. Then I was like, all right, is he gonna do this? Oh no, God damn it, he fooled me. He did this. Sorry, use the Lord's name in vain. Sorry, but but yeah, I mean, I think his portrayal, and I'm gonna say this: if it was a different actor, I don't think this film would have worked. I think Hugh Grant did such a tremendous job portraying this character that anybody else would not have worked in this role. And it's the fact that we see Hugh Grant in a certain way. Like the last time I see Hugh Grant in a film was a mockumentary on Netflix called Death to 2020. I don't know if you guys ever seen that.
Mm-mm.
Well, watch it. He plays basically a professor, and they're asking him about, you know, like civilization stuff like that. He keeps saying, like, he'll talk about, you know, civilization, but then he'll bring in Game of Thrones, and because he assumed Game of Thrones was real, so he would bring different aspects of like different civilizations, like Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, because he thought all that was real. But yeah, his portrayal was amazing, and like I said, I think it helped drive this film, and it helped as an audience. It helped you basically fall along just like the two girls did throughout the whole film. You right, Joe?
Yeah, I was trying to see when was the last time I saw one of his movies, and it's been a long time.
No, definitely watch that. That's
It's
2024.
well, Paddington. I saw
Paddington,
that.
okay. That, and they're
Holy
having a part
crap!
two of that too.
So yeah, it's been a while since I've seen him. Oh, all right, Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason. So I've been meaning to see Dungeons and Dragons. I would have loved to have thrown that one out, but you know, I didn't see it, so I guess I messed up on that one. LindzCzar, anything that we had like commented on that you feel like, you know, you want to like add more to it? Like,
Well, I totally agree with what you guys said. I love the monologue he does where he compares religion to songs and board games and how uh, a religion is really just the iteration of the next one. I thought that it was um, a compelling argument, especially if you don't know much about religion, to be honest. And I also thought a good thing that the movie did was kind of hit all different kind of parts of religion. There was like some good questions raised by him in general, like you shouldn't blindly follow anything. But then there was like that darker side of religion where he was trying to control everybody. But then there was that lighter side of religion where the girls are like, basically, religion can be really personal and quite a freeing thing. So I think that it kind of worked on all aspects of religion and it wasn't offensive in any way. And I think that's homage to the script and how they did it. So pretty good part of it.
I mean, I agree. I sat there and I was like, whew, there is going to be a lot of uncomfortable people in the theater watching this. Like, especially, you know, anyone in the religions that he basically did the comparisons. The songs, when he, with the Radiohead song, I'm like, huh, I didn't know that about the Radiohead song. Like, no clue about that. And then he's about Lana Del Rey. I'm like, I didn't know about that either. I like both those songs. I had no idea, like, you know, these connections and how, and the way he put it. And I thought it was brilliant. You know, the Monopoly game. I never even heard of that first one, the landlord properties or whatever it was called. I was like, that sounds like a very, like, I think I would be offended if somebody bought me that game for Christmas. Monopoly, I'm good, but it's a good thing they didn't go by the first name because I would kind of, I'd be a little thrown off on that one.
There was also some good humor there too, like with the Bob Ross game.
Yeah,
with
that was,
oh my God. I'm not gonna lie, I want the Bob Ross game.
Yes,
like, that
me
one
too.
would be a fun one to have.
Yeah, that one threw me off when they showed him. Like, what the? Really? There's a monopoly with him, Bob Ross? Yeah, that was a good one.
But it's just what I liked was, while it may have come across as a religion bashing, it's basically just still saying that our religions have all similarities, and but when he started pointing out like all the other people beforehand, I was like, yep, I read about those. Like, and I always mess up the name, Mesopotamian, however. So with them, when in one of the books that they had written, because the world wasn't as full of as many people as we have now. So if you live in a valley, and if the valley gets flooded, to you the world got flooded. And that's what had happened. And they wrote about the world being flooded. And then we got in our Bible Noah's Ark and the world being flooded, and how they were saying that that's what Noah's Ark took inspiration from. So it makes you question a lot of things. And like I said, the movie brought all that stuff. And I thought it was interesting. I mean, if anything, it's a hard topic, and especially horror, to do religion, because you're either going to get people who are going, these people are anti this, anti that. Thankfully, I haven't heard anything negative. But to make you as the viewer, because you're now connected with the sisters, in the fact that he's making you question your own shit here. And so when we were done, Adam, because he knows I'm religious, he's like, so how'd you feel about that? And I'm like, well, kind of agree with him a little bit, but it's going to be, it's like controversial. But again, when I lay down every night, even if, I had quite too many beers, I say a Hail Mary and an Our Father and then go to sleep. So I still pray every night.
I think too, the fact that it's still playing in the movies, once it goes streaming, that's I think where it's gonna pick up. You're gonna hear the debate over the controversial topic of this film. Because once it streams, people are gonna just talk about, because people are still watching the film in the theater. So
they are. I told Adam we were gonna go Sunday, because we have a party this Saturday, and I had all my days planned out. And I'm like, well, we should be fine. Because again, the mistake was the one by my house. You literally just buy your tickets, walk in, and pick your seats. Now you actually have to pick your seats before you actually go to the theater. I knew I've done it before, but I didn't know this was just like a common practice now. So I'm like, we'll be all right. It's Heretic. It's Sunday. Wicked, Moana, Gladiator. There's all these movies that are playing. There's going to be like 3 people in the theater. So I go to buy the tickets, and I'm like, oh, shit. I was like, we're going to have to go tomorrow. He's like, what do you mean? There was like 4 seats left, and we would be separate from each other. So again, on a Sunday holiday, like this was after Thanksgiving, the theater was full for this movie. So that, and who would, well, actually we did, but we love horror movies. So, and I actually loved, there was like a lot of older people, like I'm talking about like senior citizens. And I'm like, I love that, here they are in the movie theater, just like the rest of us, it's all ages, and it was awesome. All right. So, Linz, we're going to go to our closing thoughts, and then we do our rating 1 through 5. Some people are used to 10, so we allow like the 0.5. Some of us have been known to do a 0.75. But so yeah, any last minute things that you want to discuss about the movie, and then let us know what your rating is.
Well, do you guys do spoilers?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you should have watched the movie. You should have watched. Yeah.
So something I really liked was the ending, actually, and I think that the ending is actually a pretty good case for religion. I like how it's kind of open up to interpretation. I feel like some people might take it in a literal sense. I took it more as like Sister Paxton didn't actually make it out alive, because she has like that foreshadowing in the beginning of the movie where when she dies, she wants to come back as a butterfly and land on people's hand. In the last scene, there's a butterfly that lands on her hand. And I saw that as basically her a symbol as of her like leaving her body and ascending to the heavens. So I thought that was really pretty. And one thing that I really liked at the end is when she concedes in that one scene a little bit where she says, I know praying doesn't work based on this study, but I like to do it. I like to wish well on others. So I think there was a good message of kindness in there too, and just like how religion can really be quite personal and beautiful. So wanted to kind of note that as well, because I think that there was a lot of cynicism of religion in this movie, but there was also like a little bit of pro at the end, which I really liked. And I'm glad Sister Paxton was the one to give us that message. But anyways, as far as a rating, originally when I rated this on my channel, I gave it a 4 out of 5. But I went and saw it again just this past weekend with my mom. And when you see films a second time or a third time, you pick up things you didn't pick up before. And I did. And a lot of the cons I had, a lot of the questions I had got answered in the second viewing of the film, because obviously I went into the film looking for those answers and I feel like I got them. So I really don't have any issues with this film, to be honest. I can't give a 5 because a 5 to me is like perfect. I wouldn't change a thing about it. I didn't leave the theater with any questions or like any issues. But I think I'm going to give it a 4.5. I really liked it. It's one of my favorites of the year, and I love psychological slow burns, so I really enjoyed it. 4.5.
All right, JR.
You're gonna have to see Violet.
I haven't seen that. I am going to need to.
Oh, you're gonna have to watch that one. For me, it's like I agree with what everything Lynn said, and I think what I like about this film is us watching it. We didn't see the things that Sister Paxton saw at the end when she's breaking down how he fooled everybody, how he fooled them. We didn't see it as an audience.
No.
And the fact that when she went back and talked about it and his reaction to it, I mean, he was smirking the whole time. Every time she would catch him out on basically a falsehood, a lie, and especially when she's like, "Oh, you moved the body," because last when I checked, it was a different position. Somebody came moved it. She's like, "Oh, how is that possible? There must be a door here." Then she basically moved the table and basically lifted the latch, and then all of a sudden he goes, "Well, you have to go down there." And when she goes down, there's all these other women in cages. So then the part where he's cutting a girl's nail, he goes, "Oh yeah, she did go off script," and he like cut her finger. And he put it in like the water thing, like nothing. But I like that because many films that do this and they show us, it kind of ruins it towards the end because you don't want to. Oh yeah, this happened. Yeah, this happened. Okay, I can see this happen. So the fact that we didn't get the total reveal till the end of the film, I thought was amazing. And I think one of my favorite scenes too is when she's escaping and she's running up. It shows her in that little, basically, he had on the table like the house itself, and he would put all the pieces in place. And the fact that it showed her in that little house running around and stuff,
Yeah, that was cool.
I love that. And I'm always been a fan of films that do that with cinematography. But yeah, the characters were good. I thought when Liz was going to mention the ending, I thought she was going to mention when Sister Barnes came back to life and then basically killed him. Well, finished him off because he was already dying. Because one thing with horror films, when we seen that board with nails fall, you knew eventually it was going to be. And the fact that at the end of the film, you're like, hold up, man, when is this thing going to be used? Because we were teased about it earlier. And the way they played with that too is like, all right, we're not going to use it, and we're going to surprise you when we use it. So for me, this is definitely one of I would say it is probably one of the best films of this year. Which I know A24, I'm saying it, but it's probably one of the best films of the year because I think this year has been filled with more horror films that are slow burns that are starting to gain traction with an audience that usually doesn't like slow burns. Like he likes slow burns now, some of them, but
oh, and I'm trying not to interrupt. This is so hard to not to interrupt people.
But yeah, for me, this film I would give it a 4.5. Because I don't have anything negative to say about this film. I think the fact that they maintain it with the three actors, one house, one environment, the dialogue, the interactions between them. I mean, we all probably thought Sister Barnes was going to be the one to survive because it's always the one that's the portrayal of the tough one that's going to be the one that's going to survive. And here you have the gullible one, Sister Paxton, who, and I agree with you on that point. I didn't think she survived because it just didn't make any sense to me. You're bleeding out like downstairs like crazy, and for you to go through all that, and then all of a sudden you miraculously go outside and then the sun comes out. It just didn't make sense to me. But overall, yeah, 4.5. If you haven't watched it, definitely go watch it. If you haven't watched it and you're watching this, then they would just spoil the shit out of it for you. But besides that, but yeah, definitely watch this film. It's worth the watch and go in basically just with a clear mind. Don't make any assumptions until you watch this film. But yeah, 4.5.
But yeah, it's gonna be a 4.5 for me also. Well, I mean, yes, I'm not a huge fan of slow burn, and I wasn't, I wasn't even like hungover or anything when I went to the movie theater. I think it's the fact that I was able to recline back. That's what kind of did me in. Like, so once I got myself in a comfortable position, I was just like, this is not so bad. And it hit a middle point where, it was a little slow and I kind of nodded off and I don't know, something rang. I think it was when Elder Kennedy showed up and you heard the bell. There was something loud that woke me up. But yeah, I loved all the performances. I agree with, same thing with you guys. I don't think she survived it either. I felt like for me it was a little cool nod to The Descent because, unless you actually saw the version that she did survive, most people saw the version where she actually died. But the butterfly part, I felt the same. I think it wasn't just a random butterfly landing. It was her, because I'm one of those people that when I see a butterfly, anybody that any friend or family member that has passed away, whoever that name, the first name that pops into my head, that's who I think of. That butterfly is, coming to say hello. So when she said that, it kind of hit me because I am one of those corny people that literally a butterfly is a sign of a loved one who's passed away, who's just come by to say hello to you. And her saying that's what she wanted to do, I'm like, oh, I mean, because I guess butterflies are just so they can easily be eaten by birds though. So it's like I still want to come back as a whale. I don't think I want to, be a butterfly. I just rather be a big fat whale so I can eat whatever I want and not worry about having to be skinny. But no, the butterfly analogy and what it like I said, the course that I took, it made me question a lot of things. And while I don't go to a physical building, to pray and worship, because it says in the Bible that your body's your temple. So there's my temple. I don't need a man-made structure. I can just sit down anywhere to do it. But you still held on to something. And I liked that what was the name of the one that was the more rebellious one?
Mr.
Barnes. That Barnes was the one that chose the belief door. Like, she was not going to let it go. The other one who, was...
Did he freeze? Oh, he froze. He froze for a second. Give him a second. So while he's frozen, everybody, I have a question for you. So hopefully when he comes back, when they have the scene where he's talking to both of them, right?
Mhm.
And it's funny seeing them. This is great. He's gonna kill me, but when they show Sister, like, he's talking, right, and then he looks at Sister Barnes. She has a scar.
Mhm.
Did you want them to kind of open up about that?
I think the scar was the birth control contraceptive that he noticed, and that he
Yeah,
used later.
yeah,
Was that what it was?
Yeah,
Because that was like the foreshadowing later, because he tried to trick Sister Paxton saying she's not real, So that was kind of interesting. There was a lot of foreshadowing in this one, which was kind of cool.
there was.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
even the house, even when they go into the house, as soon as they start walking up the steps, you have this feeling of isolation from the get go, and that's
Yeah.
what I love when you have movies that are they're one environment is you have that immediate feeling of isolation. And I
Yeah.
don't know about you. I mean, I would have walked away. I'm not going.
Well, they should have abided by their rules, really. They had to have a woman present, but at the same time, what I like about it is it's so realistic. Like I said, I probably would have gone inside. It's raining. He seems like a nice old man. But the other cool thing about it is like he had a vendetta right from the beginning when he took the key from the bike lock and put it in Paxton's coat. I think he already got a sense that Barnes was, maybe not a good candidate for whatever, his cult or whatever he wanted to do with them at the end. And so he ended up like having this whole plan. So in cult like fashion, he had to get rid of her, right? And so then you had Sister Paxton, obviously the one that he was more so trying to convert, I guess, or prove that religion's about control. So
Yeah, I like that reveal at the end where she, like you said, she mentioned that that say they did about praying how it didn't work,
mhm.
and the fact that she realized that the religion he was talking about the whole time was control,
Yeah.
which has always been a controversial word to bring up when it comes to with religion. But as far as foreshadowing, yeah, there was that scene, and even like you had a sense that somebody's gonna come and ring the doorbell no matter
Mm.
what, you know.
Classic.
Yeah, and the fact that he goes, oh, did you see these two girls? No, I didn't see them. It's like, all right. So he leaves and he comes back. Oh, I forgot to ask you a question. Do you have this book? I'm like, oh.
So good. There was a lot of elements of humor in here, like in a lot of showcase of Paxton's naiveness when Mr. Reed's like, with great power comes great responsibility, and she's like, Spider-Man,
Yeah.
So
I
there
love
was
her
like,
character. Her character's so good.
yeah, yeah, and I love how the two girls were so different, but you could tell they would be friends and they worked together really well. So every character was written well as well, acted well and written well, I think.
What did you think about when he started talking about the woman's a prophet and that whole scene when she came out, all like certain moments you had like that distortion that she was doing to her body a little bit. I mean, what did you think about that?
That was a weird moment. First of all, I wasn't expecting that. Um, I kinda believed it for a second, but I was like, "No way," and then when he went into that whole story about, she's gonna come back to life, I'm like, "Okay, now he's totally trying to manipulate them," but that was kind of interesting. I did not think that the film would take that turn, and it was kind of really creepy too, because you expect, Mr. Reed to be the one coming into the room, and then you see, like, the distorted hands and stuff, so that was really interesting, but it was interesting that he did that, tried to, prove to them that she was resurrected. And then later in the film, we see, I mean, presumably Barnes resurrected. Actually, like the irony there was kind of interesting as well. So, what did you think about the prophet?
Joe, the way you were frozen was funny. No, we're talking about the scene with the prophet real quick.
Well, I grabbed my phone and listened to you guys. I'm sitting there, I'm like, what? All I saw was blue screen, and I'm like, oh no.
Dude, you were like this for a while. But yeah, like
Sorry
when
about
the prophet, I thought it was an interesting take because I didn't see that once again, I didn't see it coming. I didn't see the whole, I'm gonna prove to you. So this is where I think it goes to that whole thing where, us as an audience are thinking this guy is basically a devil worshiper. And because he's doing everything to show them, well, this is the route I'm going as far as the true religion. But then the fact that, I mean, when she came out, I was like, all right, this is different. And she came out with the blueberry pie. I'm like, all right, this seems off. Yeah, what are you gonna say?
I meant to mention this at the beginning, but look what I got.
Nice.
Oh, no.
Thought it was fitting.
Nice.
Well,
What about
actually,
you, Joe? What do you thought about the prophet thing?
so it's funny because JR, you know what I thought the movie was going to go once we got into the cages was fucking martyrs. I thought that Mr. Reed was trying to capture people, torture them to make them be prophets. Wait, so you said you saw it twice, Linz. Please don't restart computer. So because when she said about that the body moved, so when the lady died, she went face first into the bowl.
Hmm.
She was dead, so she no longer needed to breathe. So the one that took her place had to have her head the other way because she
Hmm.
would have drowned if she kept her face in the soup.
Yep.
So that's where, like, on the picking up how, when she explained it, and you think of the person had their head sideways, I'm like, yeah, because she would have drowned in the soup.
Yeah.
The other one was dead. It went in the face first. So yeah, she couldn't breathe in there. So, but that's what I thought that that the prophets were women that he's been basically torturing, a la martyrs, even though martyrs is a whole other level of torture.
Have you seen Martyrs, Lindsay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's movies.
Yeah, JR recommended that one to me, and that one actually appeared on movies that fucked me up because of JR.
Yeah,
And
I
again,
will not be watching that again.
no, I have no reason whatsoever. I did it that one time.
You got somebody.
Yep.
Dude,
No, not a prophet.
that scene was awesome. I like that scene because it really, like, once again, you're taking this audience on the ride too, and we didn't know what to expect as we're watching it because we thought, honestly, I thought he was going to prove his point too. Like, all right, so he is resurrecting people, and this is the reason he has these women. But then the fact that he didn't want to kill, which I thought was ironic. Even though he said that they're both going to die, his focus was more on Sister Paxton over Barn. Because I do, like, I think you were hinting at a little bit, both you guys, that Sister Paxton was more grounded to the religion, where you felt like Sister Barnes was basically she went into the religion because of certain things that were happening to her.
She was forced into it because
Yeah,
her family
where the other one
whereas
was
the other one's raised in it.
Yeah, she took it. Because even that whole conversation about the magnums at the beginning of the film was freaking hysterical too.
Boy, I gotta say though, thank God we're not missionaries because they do not have any luck in horror movies. I mean, you have this, you had The Strangers, yeah, yeah. Hold on. Of course, now he's popping in. So Adam M is actually my husband.
And behind the curtain, once they showed the curtain in the temple, that's where you thought it was going to pop up something.
But you saw in the curtain the way that it had landed that it was on one of the figures.
Yeah.
So at first I thought that somebody was hiding behind there, and I'm like, so maybe this wife is like some disfigured woman that he's been basically torturing all these years, and she never showed up anyway. There is no wife, but excuse me. Sorry if I burped there.
I'm actually kind of surprised there wasn't more like Satanism in this film. I was expecting that. The really only thing we got was that one room she went through, just with a couple like visuals. But yeah, I was expecting the devil to come out too anytime. I mean, it was Mr. Reed, really.
It was. I mean, he had a lot of time because he built some tunnels down there.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was sitting there, I'm like, this is impressive. This is like barbarians. Like, and again,
it reminded me of Dante's Inferno because she kept opening a door
that's
to get
a
into
good
another door to get into another door to get into another door.
That's a
So
good
it's
way of
almost
looking at
like
that.
she was going to the depths of hell because every room she opened had something that kind of made you think, Satanism. You had the room with the books, and then next room you had a little bit of the symbols. Next room you had a couple more books, and I'm thinking the whole time, wow, this guy really has like a water problem in his house because it was leaking all over the place. And how they kept those books intact, but it's like, oh, all right.
That is true.
Yeah.
All right. So before we wrap it up, Linz, go ahead and if this is your first time, thank you for joining us. I know your first live stream, not the easiest. I'll let you know, just know next time you can talk as much as you actually want. Everybody always gets nervous at first. And at least since this is live, we unfortunately, but I'm just gonna let you know if you come back again, you can go on for, I mean, we'll like be like, okay, she's going on a while, but you know, I didn't want you to feel like nervous. I have to keep it short. It's great if you have a whole lot to say, trust me. But go ahead and tell us about, a little bit about yourself. We're going to have on here all her information, her YouTube and social, but I'll let her, tell her about herself right now.
Yeah, so I mean, I really just am on Instagram and YouTube under the same handle, LindCzar. I talk about music and movies, primarily horror movies, of course, as we know that's the best, and music in the metal genre, rock and roll, post-hardcore, punk. Really just talk about things I'm passionate about and welcome anybody who wants to listen to listen. So love to have conversations, and I loved this. Thank you guys for having me. It's been really fun.
Well, thank you for joining us. And I'm glad you're a fellow drinker. Cheers.
Oh yes, I'm a beer lover.
All right, good.
Oh, Joe, she actually reviewed the movie recently, Thanksgiving. And Joe loves
JR, have you still watched it?
I haven't watched it. I have to watch
Oh,
it. I have to watch it.
I saw it in the movie theater. I fucking loved it.
I love
and
it.
Did they announce the sequel is going to be coming out in 2025?
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to it. I'm I was trying to think. I think we're doing I guess isn't there a poultry one?
Oh yeah, oh my god, what's it called?
It's zombie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing that for Brains and Brews for next season for next year for 2025.
Turkey zombies or something.
Yeah, so I mean, other than that, I didn't know of any Thanksgiving.
Poltergeist.
Yes, so we're gonna be doing that one. But the Thanksgiving, that was a great surprise. Love the kills in it. I'm a huge Eli Roth fan.
Me too.
I mean, he's cute.
He is.
But he is. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. That's about it, Linz.
I got to come back.
Oh, you'll be back.
Fun.
It's funny, so I stumbled upon her channel because I'm a massive Linkin Park fan. So when Linkin Park first started coming out, everybody was having reaction videos. And there was this massive war going on between people who loved the fact the band came back and people who hated the fact that the band came back. So as I'm, looking at the reaction, I stumbled upon her channel. So I was like, all right, let me see her take on, the Emptiness Machine, which was the first one they dropped. So I've been basically subscribing to people's channels who talk about Linkin Park. But when I started looking a little bit more at her channel, I was like, all right, she talks horror. Okay. So I was like, I definitely, I had to reach out to her because, like I said, it's hard to meet people that do both. And the fact that you do, and she also did Gladiator too, which I want to watch that movie because I heard it's
there was a side eye there, right? I peeped that side eye.
There's mixed reviews. I don't know. Well, I mean, we don't have to get down the rabbit hole, but it depends on if you guys are like diehard Gladiator fans or whatever.
I love Spartacus.
Yeah.
Great series. But yeah, it's funny because we, then I reached out to her. I was like, hey, come on our channel, because definitely want to, talk horror. She just did Heretic prior to us reviewing it. So it was like, all right, it's perfect timing. But yeah, I mean, if you like Linkin Park, let us know, comment below because, what do you think about this? Emily, she's fucking awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
Once again, don't worry about the whole religion thing with Emily. She's a good person. She sings and she's awesome.
Yeah, she kicks ass. She's great.
As we discussed a movie about religion. So
yeah.
It was kind of, I guess that they ended up tying in. So, all right. Well, Linz, thank you for joining us. JR, obviously we'll see you next week. We're going to be doing Salem's Lot. I know it dropped a little bit ago. I'm going to blame myself on not putting it on the schedule. I'm the schedule person. However, when we discussed movies we were looking forward to, this is one of them because from my childhood horror ones, the original one is still one of the best. So it is a lot to live up to. So I'm going to give the movie the shot and not go in it doing the comparison. So if you've seen Salem's Lot, that's what we're going to be talking about next week. It is streaming on Max. And as I said, Linz will have her information. Thank you for joining us. It was wonderful. And, hope to see you again. JR the villain. And as for me, I'm Joe the psychologist. Rick should be back next week. If not, I'm going to kick his ass. So until next week, stay scared and ta-ta for now.
Hey, Joe. Joe!